Hello, everybody. I am Andra Annette, and I am here with my co-host, Nikki Cooper. We are both nurses, amongst other things, and we love coming in. And this show is called Echoes of Destiny, and just giving our insights on some things. So please help me welcome my co-host, Nikki Cooper. Hello.
How are you? Kia ora from New Zealand.
Yes, it's beautiful. So before the show, I was talking to Nikki, and I see these things all the time about nutrition, and they're pushing protein, and they're saying protein won't hurt you. But there are several people that really can't have protein. People with kidney issues. It does impact people with gout and stuff like that. And they're saying, oh, it won't hurt you and stuff like that. But it's not about the protein they're pushing that concerns me. It what concerns me is that they're pushing one macronutrient over another as a restrictive way to get healthy. And I don't think that bodes well because any type of restriction you will get in good shape. You will have stronger muscles and stuff with the protein for sure, especially as we age because we are losing that bone density and that muscle mass that we had maybe 10 or 20 years ago. But what I really wanted to talk to Nikki too about, because nobody understands this more than nurses who have seen hundreds of patients, that no two person is alike. No two person. So Nikki, I mean, you and I both know that two people can show up in a cardiac event and they will present totally different. Someone might come in with a headache, the other person their tongue might be shifting, right? One person might have arm pain. So or slurring. So there are different signs, and every single person that comes in presents differently. So there are those classic signs that we look for, right? But
Mm.
not everybody falls into those classic signs. So we have to be willing to think outside the box and use good judgment and those skills that we've learned to really evaluate in a very quick period of time what's going on with this person and get them the help that they need immediately, especially with someone having a heart issue. Um so how would you say that this relates to the nutrition market where everyone, because this, I do nutrition too, so I don't want this to be something that's coming from me, from just my perspective, right? Because this is not about me selling a program or anything else. This is just about using common sense to give you the best knowledge available. So, what do you think about them putting this diet out as the only way to lose weight, or this diet is the best, or this diet is the best? How does that sit with you when you see these things on, well, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook? How
Mm.
does that sit with you?
It's quite obvious that it's pitching to people's pain points, which is often, I think, for the majority of people, it's a weight issue that's the driving force. But they're not going to the root of the issue of how they got there. They're not looking at that, like you said, they're not looking at their specific um, biology and biochemistry that's going on inside of them and how different they are. They are just looking at it as a means to an ends in that this is going to get me where I want to be, which is smaller and lighter, etc., etc. And it's really marketing to the masses in that respect. And it's not it's also I think that's what's when you look at people that are specialized in medicine or health and nursing as well, we've got such a generalist knowledge that we can put all the pieces of the puzzle together. And people that have trained in one particular modality, um, they're very passionate and they're very knowledgeable in that one specific area. They may not have everything else that goes along with that, and that knowledge of the fact that we are so biologically different. I remember, and I'm probably gonna get shot down in flames for saying this, but I remember when they in the UK, which I think they've followed around here in New Zealand as well. they went from registered nurses to doing a degree in midwifery only and not doing nursing beforehand. And I saw a huge amount of, when I worked in critical care, I saw a huge amount of really severe critical illness as a result of the midwives not recognizing that there was an illness or a disease process going on. They were really just looking at it from that maternal perspective. So I think if you have like a lens that's just focused on one thing, you're not going to see all the other stuff. And I think that can be really quite dangerous. But it looks good online. It's very
It's
marketable. And it kind of gives people their red pill or the blue pill, whatever it is that they say these days. I can never remember, can't keep up with it. But it's giving people that instant gratification, that a really speedy way to get them away from that pain point of what's causing them distress. It's not going into what's got them there in the first place. And it's not looking at all the other stuff that they're ingesting or have ingested, whether that's breathing, drinking, eating, etc., or even your mind, what you're ingesting with your mind, as to what's causing inflammation or what's causing all these other areas of dis-ease in your body. It is just focusing on that one thing, and I think that it's really hard to put it into words. There, you need to have somebody that really, really understands the body, mind, body, and soul, and I think a lot of this doesn't, unfortunately.
Well, as nurses, we do have to understand that connection. It's hard to treat the whole family and what's going on. So we do have to understand that emotional self. And we deal with people that go through the most humbling times of their life, and they invite us in to help them through that, right? So I think that gives us that perspective. Like you might not really understand cancer just from learning it in school until you actually have those patients and see what it's doing to them and how it's affecting their family, their relationships, and their self-esteem and how they feel about themselves, especially if it's something that has to do with sex, right? Their
Mm.
masculinity or femininity. It does affect them even in a different way, like a woman who has breast cancer and has to have her removed breast. It's very disheartening for them because the society has portrayed that as a form of our sexuality. So it makes a woman, or if they have a hysterectomy and they haven't had children, it makes them feel like less than a woman because society has said that this is what a woman has to do, or this is what makes a woman attractive. So, but when you're there with those patients, you get to see that patient, that person that's going through that, and it's a very different perspective than what you hear outside of there. But I think, and this is just my belief, I never try to push my beliefs on anybody else, but I think that we are missing. So, you know, I hear a lot of nurses online saying that, they left the medical system was bankrupt and now they wanted to become a coach or, do EFT and stuff. And I feel, and then, I had one nurse tell me she never learned anything in nursing school. And I was like, well, what were you doing? Because, um, but it's just, they're saying that it was bankrupt, but they are committing the same thing
Mm. Yeah.
by saying, this is the only thing to do. This is the only thing to do. So you can't say the doctors miss symptoms and, that they study this for years and then they forget that stuff. And then you go out and you do the same thing because you are still symptom managing, right? So if you can't treat that person as a whole, and so a lot of these programs online do have mindset, right? But are they really trained? So, but their mindset is really limited to what their specialty is. They may not be um, have the credentials or the knowledge or the empathy even to really help someone that maybe has been through trauma and that is exactly what's bringing them into this body they're in, right? They haven't been able to release that. Maybe their parents told them they weren't good enough or whatever it is, right? And they ate their feelings, and this is the body they're in because of it, right? So, um, I don't think that, me personally, and I do have expertise in this area, but me personally feel like 9 out of 10 of my clients, the bodies they're in have nothing to do with what they're eating.
Mm. Mhm.
It's
Exactly.
more about that emotional um bondage, if you will, that keeps them
Mm.
trapped. And I feel like if they don't work through that, and if they're just going through the motions and they have the motivation, that even if they lose it, if they don't uncover the reason that got them into that body, that they will be back in that body because they haven't changed anything. People say if nothing changes, nothing changes. So if you just change one facet of the problem, then you really haven't corrected the problem. So
Mm.
it's like the diabetic who comes in for education on his diabetes, but he has a heart condition, right? He has,
Mm.
kidney issues, and he's has depression. If we only treat the diabetes, are we really helping that man? Because we're specific to this, and all of this is part of what's going on with him. So
Mm.
I feel like a lot of health, and don't get me wrong, there is a lot of symptom management out there in health. It has become about that. Doctors have um, become so busy, or they just forgot a lot of what they studied because now they're forced to just take care of that. But then you have those other doctors that um, really encompass everything. They won't step out of their wheel well, but they will tell you, this is what I think is going on with you, and I think you need to see a rheumatologist would help you more, right? So there are those doctors too, and I think that um, medicine in general is getting a very bad name from coaches who have no degrees and are not out there saving lives, and they're all standing out against medical, but I don't feel like they have the right to say that or that they're any better because they're guilty of the same thing. You're
Yep.
taking someone that has a weight issue and you're just managing that symptom. You're not doing all the other things that cause that person to get into that system. So, um, I feel like it's a very contradictory market, and I feel
Mm.
like that's leaving a lot of people exposed to more sickness.
And stress.
Yes. Yes, because they feel like they're failing. They're, well, I lost this weight and it came right back on, and I don't understand it. Because you didn't take care of the whole
Mm.
problem. I've worked with people, and I know that it's difficult to open up to someone that you just met. I mean, nobody comes up to us and spills the beans. I mean, most of the time when we see people, it's because they came in an emergent situation, right?
Mm.
But they're not so quick to tell you things either, right? So you do, even when you do that discharge, you do have to
Yeah.
ask them. You have to ask them, okay, this is what your doctor prescribed for you, suggested for the food that you ate, and this is what the dietitian said. Do you live in an area where there's
Well,
food
you can.
scarcity? Do you
Mm.
have access to get this food? Do you have the
And money.
finances to do it? What would be uh, something that would stand in your way from staying consistent in what we're sending you home with? And so
And is
all
this
I'm
what you
saying,
really want? And is this what you really want? Because I think that's the thing
yes,
that most people don't ask. They're not actually saying, is this really what you want? How is this situation that you're in serving you? Because it might be that, and I've definitely seen this with people with chronic disease, they don't want it when it gets acute, but they're kind of okay with it being a chronic disease. So if that's not what they really want, they're not going to do it anyway. It has to
yeah,
come from something very central. I threatened to put a pair of boots, farm boots on and chase somebody around a paddock once to get them to take a test. And I was like, this is ridiculous. What this person clearly doesn't want to get well. There's a much deeper issue going on here,
yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
there are people that have been sick for so long they don't know what it's like not to be sick. right?
And it's an identity that they've carried for a long time, or a
Yeah.
label they've given themselves. And all of this confirms that. Um, yeah, it's very murky water. And I think when you try and put people in boxes, you're never going to win. Well, I mean, I guess it's how you interpret that. If somebody is successful because they have a large clientele and a turnover of finance, and business, etc., that looks like a success. But people are the experts in themselves. They may not have the resourcing and the knowledge that some other professionals have, but they are the expert in themselves. Um, but yeah, it's very murky water, Andrea, and I think we're tapping into a industry that is um, it's walking a tightrope, isn't it, really? In with people's lives.
Well, I just feel like this conversation needed to be had because I look at threads and Instagram every day and these people coming online, I just need to lose 50 pounds by next month and they have these very unrealistic expectations because people are selling these pills. So um and I'm not a products person. I'm really not.
Mm,
I just recently signed up with a company that manufactures health products, but more sustainable for the public. It rebuilds the mitochondria of the cell. And less than a year ago, I was talking about the dysregulation of the cell and that the fat was
mm.
really crowding out the cell. And if it has nowhere to go, it's attaching itself to those arteries and all these other things. And I was talking about that. So I heard about this company and I heard them talking about it. And that's what drew me to that,
Mm.
right? Because everything that's going on in the world right now, the stress levels, everybody trying to start a business, or everybody. I mean, social media is not social anymore. It's all a sale. It's all a big sales page,
It's
right?
global.
It's global. So, and I think that a lot of people are coming to social media for those connections and really don't want to be sold, right? And then they see these things, take this pill and this will change your life, right? So, true story, they posted in the group. So of course, I said before I can sell anything, I would have to try this and make sure that this is something I can even stand behind because doctors are involved in this and stuff. And they're not just products, they have services, travel, all these things. So I said, well, let me look at it. So
There's a
it took what?
there's a couple of things going on here. That you've got the fact that there is a lot of people that are losing faith in mainstream health. I think that in itself is a big issue, and that's an aside issue. That's nothing that we can fix or change. The fact is, it is health, unfortunately, has become an industry, a health industry, a business industry. It's a
Yes, yes,
monetized political stuff. And I think with that, and particularly since COVID as well, we've had a lot of people losing a lot of faith in mainstream health, medicine, etc. But you've also got, oh gosh, sorry, my brain's taken me away from where I was going. But that's one of the biggest concerns. But you've also got that beautiful thing, which I've always understood, is that you'll listen to someone that you trust. You'll talk to a friend or a neighbor, and they'll say, "Hey, I tried this thing, and it's absolutely the best thing since sliced bread. It's changed everything for me." And so you instantly think, "This is somebody that I know and trust, who's telling me something that's worked for them. I might consider doing this." And with social media, we're mark and that's a great marketing tool. That was always, word of mouth was always a very successful way of getting um your product out there, your information out there, because people that you knew and trusted have tried it and it's worked. So there was some credibility with that. The thing about the social media thing is that it's taken off in a way that you're completely bombarded with algorithms and messaging and that 3 second attention span that we have. So it has to look very appealing. It has to look like there's credibility, etc. But it's going for those pain points that people have, which again is often emotional insecurity, a lot of deep root causes and unworthiness and trauma and all of those. And then there's those health issues that come as a result of that. So it's going straight for that thing, and you're going, oh yes, I need this. And so that we're in that um, world of instant gratification, of clicking things to get this, that, and the other. It's not necessarily healthy or helpful. It gives you a dopamine hit. So it feeds that loop that's going on with you as well. So there's all of these massive spokes. I mean, this podcast wouldn't be long enough for us to really unpack this, but there's an enormous amount going on here that's going on with people. And a lot of this chasing, not chasing the dragon, because I'm thinking back to Victorian times when they were all on heroin, but chasing this dopamine hit and this next big thing, this next shiny thing, etc. It's probably hurting us more than it is helping us. Somebody's making money out of it, um, but it's not helping and healthy. And so yeah, it's a big spectrum of events that are going on at the moment. It's a crazy world, really.
It really is. It really
That's
is.
my final
It,
thing. It's a crazy world.
it really is. But I wanted to try that just to see. I said, because if the cells are really that dysregulated and stressed, if this
Yeah.
really can help, it will change the face of health, right?
And
So
they've talked about this for eons,
so
but people haven't been
but I
listening because it
got the
hasn't said the right stuff.
package, and it was not cheap. I want to tell you, it was not cheap. And you take one pill a day, whatever. So um I was in the group with them because they're doing the education, because they're slowly but surely putting out different products, the best in the market, the best of travel, the best of collagen, the best of all these things that people really need, right? So I'm in the group, and the girl says, "Wow, I got my," so she got hers while I was on vacation. She goes, "Wow, down 3 pounds in one day, and 5 in 3 days." And I said, "Is this for weight loss?" I said, "Because if I lose another pound, I'm gonna disappear." Because I must have missed that thing. And my girlfriend's in the same group. She started laughing. She said, I didn't remember. I didn't think this was for weight loss. But um, I've been taking it because I can't rightfully stand behind anything without trying it and seeing if it's credible. Because if the mitochondria in your cell is dysregulated, mine's not dysregulated in a way of weight because I'm slim, right? So I said, well, maybe it won't cause weight loss in me. Maybe it will correct some other issue, right? That's going on in my body, because if your cells are dysregulated, it has a rippling effect on everything that's going on in your body. Maybe my
Mm.
stress levels are high. Maybe this. I said, so let me see what it does. So I think I'm day 4 on this, and I noticed out of everything that I'm sleeping really well. I mean,
Mm.
knocked out sleep at the end of the day.
Boom.
I mean, just knocked out. So I usually get up every day at 2:30 in the morning, and I've been oversleeping for the last 4 days. So um so I don't know if it's that. I'm going to continue taking it because I've always, with the thyroid, I've always had difficulty like sleeping.
Mm.
I've always couldn't sleep more than 6 hours a night. But that's the only thing I really noticed. I have more energy throughout the day.
Mm.
But if you're resting better, you're going to have that energy anyway, right? So
Yeah.
that's really what I've noticed so far. But you don't know about any of these things unless you give it the opportunity and you actually try it, right? But this wasn't
Mm.
promising any quick fixes. These are doctors that were coming together, the best scientists in the world putting this together. Collagen you can
Mm.
get anywhere, but snow collagen, I don't know. No, I've never taken snow skeleton, so I don't know what it does, but that's so I'll find out. But um so
You can be our
people
guinea pig.
but people are going to try. Well, I mean, I do. I'm the food is medicine person, but I'd be remiss to think that there are people out there that don't have magnesium deficiency just because I've never
Mm.
had it, or calcium deficiency,
Mm.
or or just need a daily multivitamin, right? So shouldn't I be forthcoming and making sure that they're getting the best, most healthiest process, right? So that's why I have affiliations with these companies, because if they're going to take it, I'd rather them take something that's really setting them up for health instead of adding to, because there's vitamins sold in every pharmacy that promise so many different things. And are they actual? Are they FDA approved? Probably not. So why not get it from a company that is all natural, right?
I'm not going to open up a can of worms, but maybe this is probably a closing thing for us. But how did we get here? How did we get to a place where we can't get what our body needs from food?
Well, this is true. This is true.
Because
You need
we, you know,
you need about 3 pounds of fruits and vegetables a day to sustain what your body actually needs. And
and it
that's
has to be really healthy food, like, I mean, really nutrient dense and not infected with this chemical and that chemical. And it's had, uh, but
but that's
we've been on
because of
this
all the
planet for a number of years. And
But
how have
that's
we got to
because
this
of all the
point?
things in the market. I mean, when we were growing up, there was that food pyramid, have 4 glasses of
Right.
milk and all this stuff. And all that stuff was really setting us up for failure. So, because it's loaded in hormones and
Mm.
fat and all that stuff. So, that kind of got us to where we are, right? And, people are still going by that in school systems and things like that. But there's also all kinds of things in the foods. Like, you go to a supermarket and you expect that when you go there that you're getting quality food if you're getting it in the fruits and vegetable aisle, or you're getting it. But a lot of these things that people are giving their children in their cereals, it's loaded with sugar. It just has a different name, and people aren't watching for those names. They're picking up a box because they heard it was healthy, and it's loaded with sugar, which is making the child crave more sugar. And then, it's bedtime and the child can't lay down because he's had
And food
God knows
is
how many grams of sugar all day.
and food is so mass produced now that it has to have a certain amount of ways
Preservative.
of ensuring it's not going to
Well,
be spoiled, etc., etc. My husband's just had been working for an industry. I won't say what it was, but with it was in the fruit and vegetable department, and the amount of spraying, he was horrified. We were organically farming for many years and just using fish fertilizer and seaweed, active seaweed, on our farm. And he was horrified at the amount of continuous spraying that this food item needed just to be perfect enough to be presentable enough to be bought and consumed and stuff. Yeah, it's a really sad place
it's
we're
a
in.
very sad
It
place.
is. It
It's a
is.
very sad place that we've gotten to. And we do
Yeah.
collectively have to find our way back, because it's not just about us. In our generation, we have no control over what's happened already. But we do have to take back the reins and be more proactive in what we
Mm.
allow the market, because if we stop buying these things, they're going to stop selling them. They're going to cater more to post COVID. Everybody started worrying about their health and started getting healthier. So now you see more stuff in the market for health. Every time you turn on the TV, someone's talking about digestive health, right? So this is what I mean, because we do have to take into account our future different generations, right? I just did a song on Whole Foods for kids and what they do for kids, and hydration
Love it.
hero, and
Mm.
I sent it to my girlfriend. She goes, I don't know how you come up with this stuff. I said I want to combat some of that noise, some of that Cracker Jack and those
Oh, it's just,
Cheetos, you
yeah.
know.
It's overwhelming and it's overstimulating and for us for a society that's already stretched thin with capability and stress, we're just bombarded. It's yeah, you can see. I mean, yeah, you can see how we've got here. It's not
Yeah.
rocket science.
Yeah, but I predict that it's going to get worse before it gets better. You
I
know,
yeah, I think getting ownership back is going to take more than what most people are offering, I think, as a way of helping people. It's going to take a whole everybody global shift for us all to really, yeah, bring this back, unfortunately. But
and
that
people
is
are going to have a moral compass, you know. If they're not capable of helping someone, then they do have to do that referral to someone else, you know. Just like a doctor would say, hey, this isn't, you know, sorry, I'm a podiatrist, I really can't look at your hand today, but I know a great, you know, guy that can really do this for you. You do have to know what's in your wheel well and stick with it, because you have
mm,
people showing up online as a transformational coach, and then they become mindset, their wealth, their health. Really, you know, so
yeah, then you're not a master of anything
but they're just out there just pushing whatever they think the money envelope is, and it's very
because it's
sad. And,
the
and this
yeah, it's catering to the pain points again, and that's all. And that's what's trending, you know. You see it online all the time, and then they repackage these diets up that I can think of a lot of diets that are around at the moment that go back to I can think of 30 years ago they were harping on about something. It's just called something different now, and it's
Yeah, that's all they do is change the name, but it's the same food.
just change the name.
And this is my pain point. All these crazy diets out there. I hate hearing them, you know. I see people that
We just eat
are
healthy
I mean, I see people out there now showing up as nutritionists, and they were in my lose belly fat programs, and now they're teaching stuff
experts.
that, you know, because they want to get those people's attentions. Have pizza, drink your wine, and lose weight. But they make sure that they say it's not going to happen quickly. It's absolutely not going to if you're still having that pizza and that wine, because that is
Mm,
messing up your hormones, honey. So, but this is what people want to see, because there's like five people saying, "Oh, I can still have my wine and my pizza. I'm in," right?
yep.
But that's not sustainable. It's really not. And
No. And we see
especially
the and as health professionals, we see the end result every time. You can see you can see the way that they got there, how it happened, how it evolved, and not that it's too late. For some people, unfortunately, it is, but it is a trajectory now that's irreversible damage. But you can see the way it's gone. It's yeah, it's unfortunate, but it
guys, we're
is what
gonna
it
leave.
is.
I think we've shared enough information with you today. We're gonna leave it there. Our shows always go on forever, I think, because when we get together, we can talk about health forever. So I want to thank you so much for stopping in. I hope something that we said here today, or that you heard here today, gives you room to pause and think about your own health journey, or what you see out there in the market. And thanks for coming in. Have a great night.